Captain, enemy ships decloaking off of port bow.
They're charging weapons!
Shields up! Red alert!
They're firing!
Containment failure detected. Warp core breach imminent.
Welcome to Warp Core Breach, Episode 9. On this episode, Nick and David discuss the upcoming reinforcement blind boosters and take a few detours. Steven balances terror. Griffin makes some emergency repairs. Bane of Borg recaps Year of Hell. And we all sit around and talk about the most important question. Why do we play Star Trek Attack Wing?
Warning. Warp core breach detected.
I'm David Montgomery, and here's my co-host, the Tuvok, to my Neelix, Nick Norris.
That's Mr. Vulcan to you. I may be a stuffed shirt, but at least I'm not a stuffed red shirt.
Can I just call you Tuvok, because I've had such good behavior this past week?
You are Neelix. I am safe with you.
Well, howdy, folks. We are glad to be with you.
We are very glad to be with you. A lot of great and wonderful things have been happening this past week in Star Trek Attack Wing, and we just can't stop talking about it.
I know. I was telling Nick earlier, I said, I am falling in love with this game all over again.
That we are.
It really feels like there are so many new strategies that are opening up. There's so many different ways to play. And I think you're going to see that anytime you get 10 new ships injected into the game in the span of 2 weeks.
It's like a rebirth. We're getting new nuances to the game. Things that are breaking up the static nature of the game. It's going to be breaking up the static nature of the game when these new options finally get in our hands and we start to play with them and reveal them on the table in their tournaments and our casual games. It's going to make people think not only once or twice, but even 3 times, like, what am I going to be bringing? Because I can't bring the same thing from time and time again because there's too many options that are going to throw that wrench in the works. Or in the case of Undiscovered Country, Sabo.
Yes. So, the really nice thing is, I think we're finally to this point where it's not, hey, this one thing wins the game.
Exactly.
I think there's a lot of, well, Archetype A is really good, but Archetype B cancels it. But Archetype C beats Archetype B. And I think we're playing rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock at this point.
You're reading my mind, David. I was just going to say that. It goes from rock, paper, like sphere and everything else, to rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock. Bazinga.
But that's a great thing, right, folks?
Absolutely.
Don't get us wrong. I love that there's more than 1 or 2 ways to win this game now.
The walls are breaking down, my friends. The sky's the limit. The stars are the limit.
Cliche much, Nick?
Hey, I've been called by my friends the king of puns.
I wish I had a good comeback for you.
Well, you keep coming back, so.
I guess I'm just like a boomerang.
A little bit Aussie, eh?
No, people just keep trying to throw me away, but I keep showing up.
But the David came back the very next day. We thought he was a goner, but the David came back. He just wouldn't stay away. I keep promising I won't sing, and I keep breaking that promise.
Oh, it's okay. I'm telling everybody, or more like I'm warning everyone, the musical episode is coming, folks. Get your earplugs ready now.
And, folks, don't think he's joking. He's serious. And I'm backing him up.
We're going to launch a Kickstarter to make it not happen.
Or a Patreon. We'll have a certain number of measures that we've got for the episode, and for every pledge we knock off one measure.
There we go. Yeah, fund us so we don't sing.
And all funding, all proceeds go to the betterment of our equipment so we can bring you a brighter, and grander future for Warp Core Breach.
By the way, folks, this episode is coming to you a bit more raw than normal because, well, editing life.
And now that I finally have technology.
I know, it's wonderful. You're not recording through a phone.
Hey, the iPhone has done me very well for the last 8 episodes, but now that I'm finally on a decent computer system, things are going to mesh well. I'm going to be a lot clearer.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to that. That's going to make editing a whole heck of a lot easier.
Hear, hear.
Yeah, plus, since I had a buddy of mine show me some editing tricks that I started implementing for episode 8, but they're coming into full force for this episode, it really is going to get better from here on out. We appreciate everyone who stuck with us and had to do all the volume adjustments for every contributor that came in really soft or really loud. So, thank you for sticking with us. We promise it's not going to happen again, or if it does, it is purely an accident.
Any similarities to personas living, dead, or assimilated is purely coincidental.
There we go. That's how you get the Borg into this.
Yes.
So, Nick.
Yes, David.
Year of Hell.
Ah, Year of Hell.
Clearly you survived, but did you thrive?
Well, we only had 4 people able to participate that day due to some unfortunate turnouts. But as you all know, if you listen to our previous episodes, my friend Brendan did come over from Victoria on Vancouver Island, and he came and joined us. And I placed just 1 notch above him. I placed 3rd.
Been there.
Yeah. It was kind of interesting. It was split. Jason and Steven started head-to-head in the initial round, and their game went so far as the wave encompassing the entire board, save about a centimeter. So they were rolling dice. They were taking damage from the wave. They were losing upgrades. And it still ended up in an almost draw. Jason, as his usual, came out on top, kicked some butt. Brendan and I, when we were facing, it ended relatively quickly. I was able to take him down within about 3 to 4 rounds. He fought well. I'll give him that. But he was just no match for the thematic Kiana Prime that I threw at him. Unfortunately, it didn't hold up so well against Jason's all-Klingon fleet. Just a fleet of those guys swarming in on me, throwing all those dice, pound, pound, pound. I just couldn't survive.
Plus, Chronoton torpedoes only work so well against 2 or 3 shields and or cloaking.
I actually didn't rely on those.
Well, that's not the thematic Kiana Prime. What's wrong with you, man?
Well, I did have the Chronoton torpedoes, but I didn't rely on them. Like, they weren't the forefront of my build. I actually had kind of an interesting gimmick that completely didn't pan out, but I chose the Kiana Prime not actually for it being thematic to the Year of Hell, but because it was the right ship to give me 2 reverse, and I wanted to be able to use Romulan Helmsman to flip that red double reverse into white, and I was thinking, okay, I've only got a forward 90 arc, so if I can maneuver the enemy into the wave front, I can angle into it and just reverse and then just keep them at my nose and just keep firing while I'm backing away from it. But sadly, as most people expected, it was jammed up against the far wall and we were just sort of shimmying towards each other. So I didn't get to pull that off, but it was still interesting and still a lot of fun. And my companionship was the Prototype 01, in large part because of its durability. It's able to regenerate the damage. And, you know, with having improved reflector screens, reinforced hull plating, polarized hull plating, I built this puppy to last. Threw some of those disruptor beams on there for extra damage. You know, I had it made. I kind of think I should have brought the disruptor pulse instead.
Live and learn.
Exactly. But bottom line, I had a really good time. I was playing with my friends. We got to try things that we'd never done before. Jason playing Klingons. He swore he would never play Klingons. Then I convinced him to buy the Mirror Negvar, the Regent's flagship. And he goes, "Damn you, Nick. Now I've got to buy Klingons." Gotcha.
Yes. Hey. And having fun is what this game is all about.
Absolutely, and that actually leads us into our question of the week.
And now it's time for the Warp Core Breach Question of the Week, where we pose your questions to all of the contributors in the hopes that someone will get it right.
Why do we play Star Trek Attack Wing? I, myself, play Star Trek Attack Wing first because I've grown up on Star Trek and I love it. Second, because it merges two exciting game types, the tabletop miniatures with the collectible card game, mashes it up together, I get really cool ships, and I get to play with my friends. How does it get any better than that?
I don't think it really does get better than that. I think that when you're looking to have fun and you're looking to enjoy Star Trek, it's hard to go wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
Fly some cool ships on the board. Now that we're getting even better paint jobs and more reasoned cards and rules that make some more sense, I think we're in for a long run here.
Yeah, our patience is really paying off. Like, a lot of people might think that WizKids doesn't listen to us, but if you look at everything that's happened in the game over the last 4 to 6 months, it's been a progression of the things that we've been talking about for the past year or more. They're listening, but it takes time to implement change. Turnaround is not like the come about on a ship. You're not just Admiral Q and you're facing the other way. So they got to take time and develop and evolve these things. And especially with the advent of what we're seeing in the new blind boosters and the upcoming ship announcements, the new paint jobs, this is becoming a whole new game, folks. It's becoming almost 2.0. Dare I say 1.5.
Yeah, I think 1.5 is a much more accurate thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we've kind of turned a page. We're on to a new era. We've got different people kind of involved in the game. We've got more podcasts bringing you content. It's not just Warp Core Breach, it's Red Maneuvers, it's Battle Stations, it's a different look on State of the Federation. It's really people doing what they know best, bringing you content in the best way that they know how. And like it or not, each area has something to offer for each person. And it's not absolutely perfect, but there really is something out there for everyone. And that's the great thing that we have with all of these contributors, is not every contributor is meant for every single person, but we hope to have something for everyone here.
We're covering the spread.
Yeah. I appreciate hearing how many people love Dude, It's Just a Game with Natasha talking, because who would have known that having a female perspective and a little more casual perspective hit home to so many different people.
Mm-hmm.
We've always heard that those people are out there, but there's no real representation of them in any kind of format because they're not serious enough to ever sit down and do a podcast.
Right. Yeah, and as I was telling you earlier, my friend Michelle, who doesn't know a single thing about the game, obviously heard that I was doing a podcast and decided to check it out, and with no awareness of anything, really got into the show, and I'm actually going to be teaching her the game in the next week or so. And she particularly liked the segment with you and Natasha. Dude, It's Just a Game.
And that's not taking anything away from any of the other contributors. We love all of the contributors that we have here. For me, all of our contributors are what make this game fun. It demonstrates to me that there are so many different ways to play this game, and none of them are wrong.
Yeah, that was just one example of one new fan that found something that she could identify with. And each and every one of you listening there today, those that listened yesterday, those that are listening tomorrow, you're each going to have an aspect of this show that you like, you don't like, that you want to hear more of, that you might want to develop a little further. We're here for you in any which way we can. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. We want your feedback. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us what you'd like to hear more of. Tell us what you'd like to hear less of. Help direct us down the path to your entertainment, your enjoyment, and the betterment of your Star Trek Attack Wing games.
Yeah, and even if we don't respond to you right away, we will respond as soon as we can. I know there was an email we got, and it took me a couple of days to get to it, but got a response out there, and we definitely appreciate people taking the time to write us and tell us what they think.
This show is brought to you by listeners like you.
The people who love Star Trek Attack Wing for what it is. Well, I think on that note, we've gushed over our contributors, so we should actually hear what they have to say about why they play Star Trek Attack Wing.
The forum is yours.
Hi, this is Dave Griffin. Why do I play Star Trek Attack Wing? There's really 3 reasons. First, I love and have always loved Star Trek. Secondly, I've also liked tactical games, especially space tactical games. And third, I do like Star Trek Attack Wing's tactical side, but I also like the build side. It sort of appeals to the mathematics minor in me. So those are the reasons that I like it.
Hi, it's Chris here from Tangerine Alert. Why do I play Star Trek Attack Wing? Well, that's a very fair question. I've always liked Star Trek, and this game has helped grow my love for it even more. I've always liked the idea of miniatures gaming. I originally came from a board gaming background. However, I didn't like painting. I didn't like having to buy hundreds of models. And I didn't like the idea of ever-changing rules that change every year. So in reality, I didn't like painting, and I haven't had to paint the ships. I've now bought hundreds of models, and the rules are changing, well, rapidly enough to scare off a number of new players, I'm sure. But it's a game I still get a lot out of. I'm not playing it enough. So, if you're ever in the UK, look me up. Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's Natasha from Dude, It's Just a Game. I started playing Star Trek Attack Wing because of David. It was something that he really enjoyed doing, and it was an activity that we could do together that was kind of just our thing, because at that point, nobody else in our game groups really played it. So it was kind of just our little thing when we first started dating. But the longer I played it, and the more I started to figure out the strategy, the more I grew to like it and enjoy it as a game and the different facets of it. And so now I play because I really enjoy building fleets and then seeing how they work. Even if how they work is horrible, I do like seeing what happens with all of that work I put into building fleets. That's why I play Star Trek Attack Wing, and why I will probably continue to play Star Trek Attack Wing for quite some time. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Have a good week. Bye.
Hello everyone, it's Francisco here. So why do I play Attack Wing? Well, I'm a huge Trekkie, like I've always been. I've always loved Star Trek. I've always loved everything about the universe. I'm equally devoted to other science fiction universes, but I don't know, Star Trek just felt always a bit special. And as a result, I've always looked for games in the Star Trek universe. And I've played quite a few of them throughout the years, from the hardcore, like Starfleet Battles, to the more casual but more involving, like Fleet Captains, for example, which I consider to be my personal favorite board game. But Attack Wing has a certain casual friendliness to it. I mean, it's not necessarily the most accurate reflection of the Star Trek universe. It's a lot more focused in combat. The combat itself is kind of clunky at times. The ships not always reflect what they're supposed to be on the show. But I do like the customization. I do like the ease with which you can introduce new players to the game. It's relatively simple to play, especially if you've already played other games like X-Wing or Wings of Glory, anything like that. Then you'll feel right at home with Attack Wing, and since most of us gamers have already played one game of that sort, it's really simple to get into. And yeah, it has like this very cool pick up and play aspect to it that other games lack. I love playing Fleet Captains, but it can be a pain to set up. And I absolutely love Starfleet Battles, but the 200+ page rulebook will scare off a lot of people. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Plus, I'm a huge collector, and I do like the whole Pokemon-ish aspect of trying to collect all the ships. So that's it for me, and I'll see you next time.
Greetings, Warp Core Breach listeners. This is Bane of Borg. Tonight's segment why I play Star Trek Attack Wing. I'll start with a little history of myself. Back in 1969, the last year the original series was on the air, I was in first grade. I'm giving away my age here. And I really was a space science fiction fanatic as a child. Then followed that with the animated series. Never got enough science fiction back in those days. Never got enough Star Trek, space, anything like that. In graduate school, my last year of graduate school in 1987, The Next Generation came out. And of course I was a original series Star Trek fan and science fiction fan. So through graduate school and then my young adult life, followed the series with the Next Gen, DS9, Voyager, finally Enterprise. Coinciding with this was the movies, the Star Trek movies. Now in the late 70s, of course, Star Wars came out, which kind of filled a void for us people in the Star Trek world. We didn't have anything else. And so became a fan of Star Wars as well, but not nearly as much as a fan of that I am of Star Trek. Now, in 2003, well, early 2000s, probably around 2002, I always wanted to learn how to play the game Magic the Gathering, and I finally got someone to show me. I tutored a high school student in algebra, and in exchange, he showed me how to play Magic the Gathering. And I started a little local group here, Magic the Gathering, started running local tournaments, and ended up in 2003 placing 36th in the U.S. Amateur Championship up at Origins in Columbus, Ohio. I stayed in Magic the Gathering until about 2005 and gradually got away from that with video games coming out. Started playing a lot of video games, Star Trek Armada, then Mech Warrior, things on the PC, and then when the PS2, PS3, PS4 video game worlds were out, I got really involved in video games, got away from tabletop gaming. I do follow comics also as a side, and I kind of got interested in comics late. I was as a child and kind of left the comic world. Met some people in the Star Trek world that also were into comics. And I was at a comic book store when I saw other players playing, I guess, Star Wars. The Star Wars sort of attack wing game for the Star Wars. I was intrigued. Little model ships running around, and I remember my Magic days, and I thought, I might like getting back into that. So I started with Star Wars. Got some Star Wars, the starter set and a few ships. And lo and behold, Star Trek Attack Wing comes out. Well, forget Star Wars for me. I want Star Trek. So I got into the Star Trek gaming world. Started playing tournaments. I think I was in the Third Dominion War OP is one of my first OP. Local store up here had a lot of players in Star Trek at the time. We've kind of fallen a little bit but we're trying to build that group back up, and we have a new startup for new players, tournament October 11th. So hopefully we'll get some new converts or new players altogether. But I guess my love of Star Trek Attack Wing and why I play Star Trek Attack Wing is first my love of Star Trek. Secondly, my former experience with Magic the Gathering, tabletop gaming tournament scene playing. You marry those two together, and that's what Star Trek Attack Wing does for me, and why I play it, why I'm interested in it, why I like it, why I contribute to this show, why I follow what David Montgomery says, why I follow State of the Federation and those other shows like that. So I guess this is what they wanted for this segment, why I play Star Trek Attack Wing. This is Bane of Borg signing off. Thank you.
I'm Goat.
This is Brian.
This is RJ.
And we're from Red Maneuvers. I got it that time.
Attaboy.
All right, and the question this week was, why do we play this game?
Pretty much. I'm a collector. I have this bad need to collect things. And this game lets me have all the candy. I mean,
there's plenty of it.
Yes. Once you get all the retail ships, there's 3 more every month. And then every time you play in an OP,
there's a prize ship, and then there's booster build ships.
And there's grand prizes.
To me, it's a deck builder. I get to play with all kinds of random abilities that synergize off each other, and then I can come up with these cockamamie Rube Goldberg machines that do all kinds of funky stuff.
Yeah.
And you just can't do that in some games. So
You just have upgrades everywhere, and I have nothing most of the time.
Half the table's filled with cards.
Yeah. That's all right, though.
All right.
Good?
Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Hello again, this is Steven Vandeventer from DaVinci's DreamWorks 2, and I'm going to talk to you about why I play Star Trek Attack Wing. I think I play Star Trek Attack Wing mainly because, I really like Star Trek. I played the X-Wing game when it first came out, and I really enjoyed the system. I loved it. Then when I saw WizKids had announced that they were doing a Star Trek version, I was really excited because I love HeroClix, and I was playing the Star Trek HeroClix, and when I saw that basically they were formatting X-Wing to be Star Trek, it was like a dream come true. I get to play with all my favorite ships, an actual flight scenario, It's always been very fun. I've had lots of good experiences here at the shop, with competitive players, fun players, at Worlds. I love the community. I enjoy just talking to anybody about Star Trek Attack Wing. It's just a very fun game, and I love seeing what everybody else enjoys about it too. We always have fun discussions at my shop. So look forward to hearing what you guys think. Bye.
Hi, I'm Dan from Kenosha, Wisconsin. Those of you who know me, and now a lot of you who don't, know that I am a Star Trek geek. From throw blankets on my bed of Star Trek ships to Power of Command commemorative plates on my wall, followed by vanity Star Trek plates on my cars. However, not all of my friends share my passion for Trek, and a few of them could care even less. At the young age of 40, I don't lose sleep over people finding my love for Star Trek odd or juvenile. Then, WizKids introduces this great game of Star Trek Attack Wing. And some of those friends love to play games, especially strategy games and games of destruction. And here's a perfect stage to share my love of Star Trek with those who enjoy in-depth immersive games. This gives us common ground for us to bond, relax, and just have fun. I'm a casual player by nature. Sure, I do OPs, but I lose way more often than I win. And I just don't care either way. I do it to have fun and be part of this great community. But at home, with my friends and family, is where I enjoy the most playing Star Trek Attack Wing. We make up scenarios, we tweak rules, we outlaw configurations, and no one complains or gets hurt feelings because their combos are broken. Attack Wing isn't just a game to me, it's a tool. A tool to make Trek episodes about anything we want, anywhere we want. They don't always see it as that, they see it as just a game. But in my mind, I can sometimes see the characters and ships doing these actions, and it gives me just a bit more to the universe. And more Star Trek in the world is never a bad thing. This is Dan telling all of you to fly safe, and if not, shoot straight.
Hello everybody, my name's Aaron Percival, and I'm a new voice to the Warp Core Breach podcast. So first off, I'd like to thank Nick and David for having me on and asking for my opinions. I'm here today to tell you the reasons why I play Star Trek Attack Wing, and that really boils down to three specific reasons, and I'm going to attempt to sum them up for you. The first reason is because I really enjoy the core game, and by that I mean all the manoeuvring aspects. I know a lot of people tend to say that manoeuvring doesn't really matter in the game anymore, but I just don't agree with that. And it's part of the it's where a lot of the fun comes from for me. I mean, there's something really satisfying about that cat and mouse game that you play with your opponent, trying to anticipate his manoeuvres and plan accordingly. And it always makes me think of the classic episode Balance of Terror, where Kirk and the Romulan commander are trying to outwit each other and win. And I feel that that's pretty much embodied in the core mechanics of the game. And I know it wasn't originally a Star Trek game, and it was Wings of Glory, I believe, but it ports over very well, and into a couple of licenses. So I've already said that I really enjoy the manoeuvring aspect of it and the flight path system. And the first time I ever played that was in Star Wars X-Wing, and I had one game with a friend, really enjoyed it, but not enough because I wasn't, and I'm not a big enough Star Wars fan to have brought into the game, which leads me on to reason number 2. It's Star Trek. I'm a massive Star Trek fan. I was born into a Star Trek fan family, and some of my earliest memories are of seeing the runabout on the TV screen. So yes, one of my early Star Trek memories is DS9, so it might explain why I enjoy the combat aspect of Attack Wing so much. And there's something immensely satisfying about seeing the Enterprise on the board in front of you, or seeing 3 birds of prey spread out and flying them into battle. And I think the game does embody that feel quite a lot. So that's reason number 2. So leading me on to my third and final reason, I really enjoy the shipbuilding aspect of it and the fleet building. To look through the cards and the upgrades and have strategies and combos just click together in your head as you're building it and working to a specific goal, to a specific strategy for the different events and the different scenarios, and even the scenarios that come in the retail packs. Having planned it out and then watching it either all work well on the board in front of you or fall apart, it's a feeling I really enjoy. And those are my 3 summed up reasons for playing Star Trek Attack Wing. Thank you.
Hello everybody, Innkeeper here from the Wandering Inn. What do I like about Star Trek Attack Wing? That is pretty much like asking me what my favorite kind of cake or favorite kind of pie is. It's all good. So, rather than getting into the little nitpicky details of why I wouldn't like it, what do I like about STA? I like it that you and a friend who is greatly enthusiastic about Star Trek can get together, have fun, throw some dice, play a tabletop game, and play with your favorite characters from the TV series, whatever series it may be, because they've now covered all of them. And you have the multitude of factions you can pick from. So if they didn't just go Federation and just throw out random, alien races now and then, you can, play Romulan, you can play Borg, you can play Klingon. Heck, you can make Species 847-2 your fleet. You can make a Vulcan fleet. Yeah, they have limited models, but you can still pull it off. If you want to play a Vulcan pure fleet, you can do it, and you can pull it off fairly well. And even amongst all those alien races, you can play your favorite captains, your favorite crew members, or even have a wide variety of crew to swap back and forth between ships. An option that X-Wing Miniatures does not have, where if you want Darth Vader, he's either a personnel upgrade or on the TIE Advanced. Tough. That's where he is. However, if you liked Captain Archer's ability, you can put Captain Archer on absolutely any ship that you wish. So if you want Captain Archer on a Nebula class, go for it. If you want to pay the 1 point cost of putting Captain Archer on a Borg cube, go for it. You have unlimited options that way, making the game very versatile and very unique every time you play. Because when you face your opponent on the table, they might have an entirely different idea on what a fleet should be. And with the ability to mix and match, you have the world of opportunity. My comment has always been when people say, what's the problem with Star Trek Attack Wing? My problem is, you are going to run out of shelf space. That's the problem. Because it is a phenomenal game, and I can find faults. I know there are faults I can nitpick at, but it outweighs the game. 8, 9 out of 10. I'm not going to nitpick at it here. It is a phenomenal game, and I highly recommend if you're a Star Trek fan and love tabletop wargaming, this is the one to pick up.
So, David, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your week in Star Trek Attack Wing. It's been quite busy on the forums, on the boards, and everything. You've been a busy bee. Tell us, what have you been up to?
Well, as about 1,000 people have watched, I've been releasing blind booster previews like a madman. I basically set up a challenge. Well, not so much a challenge as a fun experiment of releasing a blind booster preview a day. So as we're recording this on Monday, we hit the halfway point, and then I decided to take a break and release the prize video. And of course, that wasn't quite enough for everybody. They're going, wait, where are our blind boosters? Don't worry, guys, they're coming. Actually, by the time you hear this, they'll be back. But anyways, it's been a lot of fun. I absolutely love the community involvement. The memes have been insane and make me laugh, and it's empowering and awesome and really weird to be this center of attention.
Why you no have more booster videos?
Oh, I have booster videos. I just need time to edit and think and make sure my words come out properly. And, it's all a lot of fun. And And I hope that what we're all getting out of this is that it is a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. As David stands to speak, a hush falls over the crowd. Booster, 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 booster.
So, as I actually posted on one of them, I put up the preview, and then I made a comment. As I post this, Facebook goes silent as everybody goes to watch it.
As everybody detours to YouTube. And then back.
Yes. Hey, look, you guys are back. And I know who's actually watching and who's just skipping to card previews by who comments the fastest on YouTube.
Yeah. First post is not always best post, my friends.
And don't worry, I love you anyways when you just comment and you don't actually listen to what I say.
Aww.
That's why I sneak in spoilers at the end of some videos, and then when people don't know what's coming, I know who watched and who was just looking for prizes. So, I win.
You win the internet.
Right now, I feel like it.
It's a little black box I keep on the shelf.
It's not much of a prize, though.
But it's the internet.
I know, but it's weird. It's a weird place.
Have you tried turning it on and off again? Have you tried turning it off and on again?
I did that once. Nobody liked it.
It was all dark and quiet. I started to go outside, and there's this thing called sunlight and other people. Anyway.
And some people melted. Alright, Nick, I gotta ask you. Of the first 5 blind boosters, what's your winner?
Well, based purely on statistics, effectivity, I would have to say that the real shining gem, as everybody's going to see, whether or not they agree is another story, Bioship Omega. It's the powerhouse, it's the strong contender that I think is going to make the most difference. I've got to say that statistics aside, the one I've been looking forward to is the Mirror. The Mirror Vorcha, the Tokat. Been wanting another one of those ships for a long time, and while it's not Klingon, it's still Klingon at heart, and it's Mirror Universe. It's one of my favorite factions. You know, it's the potpourri, it's the crazy group. And who doesn't love a little bit of beard on there, right? And, well, hey, for those that have seen my profile picture on Facebook, I sport a beard. And occasionally a goatee. So watch yourselves.
You know, I really am enjoying these. I've yet to find a terrible blind booster, and as you're going to find out with the other 5, I really don't think that there's a terrible blind booster. There's not one that you're going to open it up and say, I've lost. And I'm glad for that. There's some you're probably going to go, I'm going to have a tougher time with this because it doesn't fit my play style. But they're out there, and I think that if you're a bit adaptable, they're going to work out for you.
And like with the collective pack, there's a number of sleeper hits, I'm sure. Is like the Behemoth and the Jaeger as blind ships were frowned upon by a lot of people. It's like, oh, I really got the short end of the stick on this one. But when it came to the actual playing of the event, those ships did fairly well.
Yeah, they did.
And I see that happening again.
Yeah, I think that a lot of these ships will really make a difference. From the sound of the way that they've scheduled things, I think that they basically know what OPs they're doing, what these missions look like for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these cards have probably been planned for the mission specifically. And that's why some of them seem a lot more situational than others.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but I'm willing to take a chance on that.
I'd rather have you on the side of optimism than pessimism.
It's a little contrary from how I am in everyday life, but you know, if people see me as an optimist because of the shipyard, I will take it, because frankly, I got tired of all the negativity in the community, and dang it, we need a good optimist.
And one thing that I've noticed in the community over the last while is there's a lot less of that negativity, even from the sources that used to be. Like there's more excitement, there's more camaraderie, there's more interest, not just in the new things that are coming up, like these boosters and ships, but in each other, in the creativity that's coming out of the group. Like one of the things I saw today is dream cards of the NSEA Protector and crew. So, bit of Galaxy Quest in there. Sure, it's not canon, it's not part of the Star Trek official game, but it's more enthusiasm. It's people saying, hey, I love this game so much that I'm going to put in extra time to doing this just for fun.
Yeah, stuff like that is awesome to see, and I love the people that are doing that. I think that it really is bringing people together and highlighting what can exist and showing the best of what people have to offer. And even if the customs are just wild fanboy stuff, but the reality is this stuff is actually legitimate playable stuff that maybe it's not perfectly balanced or costed, but it's stuff that could easily be worked out, and maybe it's just off by a point.
Yeah, and quite often they're very thematic while, like you said, being very close. Like, I gotta give that shout out to Adam Ziegler. He's the fellow that did the Galaxy Quest cards. Stephen Thorpe's another one who's done some great custom work. And I'm sorry I can't mention everyone that's done it, but props to all of you for all your creative, well thought out work.
So, Nick, let's wrap up the blind boosters by throwing this out to you. The last 5 boosters. I'm going to name you the faction. You give me a rank of how eager you are to see them.
Okay.
And yes, I am authorized to do this, folks. Klingon, Bajoran, Vulcan, Kazon, Ferengi.
Ooh. I am definitely going to have to throw the Ferengi near the top of that list. My palate is just ripe and ready. I haven't got my Quark's Treasure yet, and I'm itching for that. And what I've seen of that has really got me salivating. And seeing another Ferengi ship is really going to bring it for me. Second would have to be Bajoran. I'm interested to see how it's going to change things up for this new faction. Like, granted, it's been around a while, but it hasn't really been significant enough to be taken seriously until the Rotosha. And now that we've got another one coming, I'm excited. I've played Bajoran more recently, more than once, and I've had a great time. So I'm ready for more. Third up, Klingon, because that's another one that I kind of have a secret crush on and of a sort. They're just so different in the way that you play them, and I love things that give me spice. You know, the spice must flow. Next, I would have to say Kazon, because I think those guys need a good leg up. They were almost like the sad Klingons of Voyager. They just didn't quite get the upper rung. And I really enjoyed the Kazon ship in the Rift booster. It was a very nice surprise that helped things along well. And I've been playing a little bit of Kazon too. Mind well, it didn't go so well the last time I did it in an OP. But it was a creative, funky build. It was exciting to work with. And I'm sorry to say that the Vulcan is the bottom of that list, but that's because, unfortunately, I don't really expect too much out of them as a full-on faction yet. I guess it's partly because, in my mind, they don't really exist on their own. They're part of the Federation. They're part of the big family. And expanding on the Vulcan faction, to me, is a departure from that unity. But I do love them. I do love their ships. I love the options that they bring us. And given the format I play in, I can still mix things up.
Right. When I first opened all the boosters, I went, Vulcan? Like, that was the one thing that made me go, we're getting this instead of Independent? Like, because I'm like, oh, that would have been perfect for a Hirogen or even a Vidian ship, because I highly doubt we're getting another retail Vidian.
I was shocked.
Just something to throw out another something to help. And don't get me wrong, I think all of these are going to be playable, and I think they're all going to be fine. The Vulcan are thematic because of Temporal Cold War, and I get that. We'll see. I'm going to tell folks that we'll see. We'll see what happens. They are what they are, and I'm looking forward to releasing the videos and telling you guys all about them and hearing what you guys have to say. It's really exciting. I love knowing little bits, and I love sharing what I know, what I can share.
And in what free time that I've had over the last week and change, I've been wanting to do my part to complement your videos, and I've been writing reviews, text-based reviews, on the reveals that you've done, because I've noticed out there are many of you that just aren't really into the video side of things, or maybe you don't have the opportunity to watch the videos because of where you are or what technology you have, and some of you just like to read about it. So I'm doing my part to provide you that aspect.
Yeah, it really is a great compliment. It's something we're trying to do as Warp Core Breach, and have this kind of network of content and have everything together where we can be essentially one-stop shopping.
Yeah, and since you're doing the videos now, the shipyard doesn't have as much focus being put on the text side of the ship and pack reviews that you're so well known for.
I know. It makes me a little sad, but it's still there. I've fallen way behind on them, especially now with 10 new blinds. But if things ever calm down, we'll see what happens. Who am I kidding? Things are never calming down.
Maybe it's time to hire some extra crew. Hey, Captain?
Anybody looking for volunteer work? I'm serious.
He is. He really is. Like, what better way to build the community and to help it grow and flourish?
If you're interested, send me a message on Facebook or Board Game Geek. I'm around all the time, so you know how to get a hold of me. Or, email warpcorebreachpodcast@gmail.com. We're around. We'd love to get somebody on board to help out with some of the little stuff. It really would help out. So, if you can devote a little bit of time to some of that, it would be awesome.
Now, we're not expecting people to be as gung-ho as you, though, David. We don't need people to be churning out reviews and articles, 1, 2, 3 a day or whatever. Be it 1 a day, 1 a week, 1 a month. Whatever you have to contribute would be more than welcome.
Yeah, basically, somebody who could help me out just a little bit. Help us out with card text or double checking stuff, proofreading some things, making sure we're not making silly mistakes. Like, stuff like that is highly useful and a valuable tool. So, yeah. Well, speaking of other people who play, we have a myriad of contributors, some of whom you heard from in the question of the week, but we want to give them a chance to showcase their specific talents.
You didn't come here just to listen to us, did you? Why don't you give these other fellers a listen?
Hi, this is Dave Griffin. Today we're going to discuss the emergency repairs mission which came with the Praetus and reenacts the Enterprise episode Minefield. The forces on the Romulan side are 100 points, which must include at least one Romulan bird of prey class. The trouble is the Praetus says Romulan Bird of Prey class, and the Next Generation says Romulan Bird of Prey. It's true it doesn't have the class on it, but it's sort of assumed, so there's some ambiguity there. On the enemy side, which according to the episode would be the NX class, the Enterprise, there's 50 points, 1 single ship, and upgrades. On that ship card, you put 3 mission tokens, and you put a critical hit token next to the ship to indicate that it needs to act according to the special scenario rules. There is also a planet just north of the enemy ship deployment area, but not adjoining it. The enemy ship deployment area is actually the center of the south zone behind the planet, but not the entire side. And the Romulan deployment zone is on the north edge of the board and is normal. The special rules: the enemy ship may only take 1 maneuvers until it has removed all 3 mission tokens. And the enemy ship gets a new action which it can take with its ship, which basically says remove 1 mission token. When they're all gone, the next turn it can move normally. Presumably this is the NX removing that cloaked mine before it can move normally. The objectives on the Romulan side is to destroy the enemy ship. On the enemy side, it's to remove the mission tokens and escape off the Romulan edge. The problem is, to my mind, there's too many points on both sides. 100 versus 50 means if you use the NX, you're going to have a heck of a defensive ship, which is really what you want in this scenario. It's pretty hard for the enemy ship to actually destroy the Romulans. They have twice the points and they're pretty durable. So there's really no point really even shooting at them. You should concentrate on having the most defensive ship you can. And 50 points on the NX means an extremely defensive ship. I managed to get one with 6 defense die with a battle stations conversion and a blank reroll. And that was before I started using tokens. That makes it pretty hard for the Romulans to chip through there. Even at 100 points, which probably means if you're trying to be thematic, a Praetus and maybe a couple of old-style birds of prey or the Romulan drone, probably 3, even 4 ships, depending on how you set up the upgrades. The best you're going to do is chip away at the Federation NX, hoping they really miss their evasion rolls. And that might not happen in the entire game, and if it doesn't, they're just going to laugh at you and fly off the board. So that's kind of a problem for the Romulans. On the other hand, if you were to reduce the points to, say, 30 points for the NX and 60 points for the Romulans, you get a couple of decent Romulan ships and a not quite so super defensive NX, which might make for a more balanced scenario. Like I said, on the enemy side, there's no point in shooting at the Romulans, to my mind. I just don't think you're going to kill them. Your best bet is to make as defensive a ship as possible. Try and stay out of their fire while you're getting rid of the mission tokens and then run for the board edge. And if you're using the standard points, you can create a ship which has 2 or 3 actions around and 6 defense dice, and it's going to be pretty bulletproof, especially when you can turn to the hull plating if you have to. Of course, if you do that, if you use the enhanced hull plating, which the Enterprise gets free, you're going to start accumulating aux tokens, and that's going to cut down on your normal actions. On the Romulan side, you can use the Praetus. You have to use at least 1 Praetus according to the scenario. Birds of prey like the Volatile is not a bad choice. The Romulan drone's not a bad choice. Obviously, the Praetus comes with cloaked mines, so cloaked mines are not a bad idea to deploy on your way to the southern edge of the board to shoot at the NX, because if you deploy them correctly, you can determine which way the NX is going to go, and that could be really to your advantage. Also, plasma torpedoes, which usually don't get much play, might have a place here. At least one of the Romulan birds of prey has the advantage of using plasma torpedoes without a target lock, and if you use the new time token torpedoes, that will help your action economy. Of course, firing 5 dice every 2 or 3 turns is going to make it even less likely that you can batter through their defense die, even if on the 30-60 point levels. But still, they could give you some good shots, and if you use them well, all it takes is 1 lucky shot to destroy the NX, especially if you have a bunch of ships and you make them use up any evade tokens they have or battle stations tokens, or even the enhanced hull plating. They can only use that once around. So if you have enough ships and you can get them to use that capability up, you might be able to destroy the ship. It's still going to be a hard scenario for the Romulans, and the mismatch that seems obvious is why I would rate it lower, maybe 2.5 stars. It might be worth playing, but I'd say the Romulan player probably should be the stronger player, maybe the stronger builder and the stronger player, because I think he has more of a problem winning this mission. Thanks, and have a good time on it.
This is Bane of Borg. I will be giving you the most recent tournament updates. Resistance is futile.
Greetings, Warp Core Breach listeners. This is Bane of Borg. This segment, we're going to cover the Voyage OP event, Year of Hell. This OP event was a standalone OP event. I'll set up the play area for you. It starts off with a spatial distortion wave, which is basically a line 2 range in from the eastern side of the map. The line, each turn, the line will move 1 range over toward the center, then eventually over to the other edge of the map, the western side. For this situation, if your ship lands and ends its turn there in the spatial distortion wave or behind it on the other side of this, 2 things can happen. One, you can have immediately 4 attack dice rolls. This is after you complete your activation phase. You have to be, so it's the end of activation phase. That was an FAQ type thing that was answered. If you, on a critical hit, you inflict damage to the ship's hull. On a regular hit, it's damage to shields or hull. Battle stations, you remove an upgrade card, or if you don't have any upgrade card or even captain card, you would have an auxiliary token placed beside your ship. In a blank result, you take away an action token, like a target lock. If you don't have any action token, you can get auxiliary power placed by your ship. You can do that, or you can do this. You can lower all your shields, deactivate all your shields, and use your action to basically raise temporal shields, which will result in only 1 attack dice rolled against your ship, and you would have to take whatever effect that we just went over. If you did this temporal shield activation, you also would put a critical hit token marker on your ship card. What that does, it gives a bonus 5 fleet points to your opponent for each one of those critical hit token markers you have at the end of the game. So kind of, it's really not a great thing to do to temporal shields if it comes down to points between you and your opponent. But it's better than taking those 4 attack dice, probably. Special rules for cloaked ships basically means that your cloak's deactivated and the same stuff happens. Now, so as this temporal wave moves across the map, obviously, most players, how they played this, were setting up on the western edge of the map, the far side, or no more than the middle of the map, and kind of moving away from the temporal wave. Because this thing, each turn moves 1 range. That's really fast. Believe me, that's how it played out. By turn, I'd say about turn 4, you were condensed to less than 1/3 of the map. So after that, it was some of the ships were starting to get caught by the temporal wave. This resulted in sort of a Tholian web effect if you played that OP, a restricted play area. So it's sort of like almost a tunnel. And this led to most of the games coming out as Joust. So, in this particular venue, our particular venue, we had the fleets were set up like this. My fleet, I used the bioships. 2 bioships with Federation fighters. I wanted something with good attack power that had some maneuverability, and with the fighter choice, Dominion or Federation, the Federation sacrifices a little bit of attack for more maneuverability. The other fleets that I saw were Federation builds. Everybody loves that Thunderchild. So there's a Thunderchild, Prometheus, and one had the Hood, and the other had a Voyager. And then finally I did see a build of Borg only, a Borg Diamond, Sphere, and Scout Cube. 100% Borg, and we are not fleet pure here or faction pure or anything like that. But Borg actually was pretty good in being that it's a joust and it's an up and down, front and back type corridor. So that's kind of how the battles played out. I'll tell you how my particular game, I won the thing. I actually used, I dumped a cloaked mine out in the very first, before anybody moved. On the very first turn, so it's right in front of my side of the map. And then with my bioships, I had a fluidic space. A quantum singularity would have worked the same way, but fluidic space is a new card in the bioship beta. New wave, the release that just came out. And I threw one of the bioships on the other side, is probably by turn 2. So it's coming up. So I have one end of this sort of jousting tunnel bioship coming in from behind, and then I had the cloak mines at the other end that my opponent's ships would have to eventually get to. So I had my fighters and one bioship coming up that side. So it worked. It was pretty effective. The mines helped because the ships pretty much were coming, they weren't being able to go to the other side of the map because that wave was coming on us. So that's kind of how it played out in my venue. To recap, then I guess what I'd like to do is tell you some of the strategies, but I think you could figure it out. In closing, the tactical advice I would give any player playing this OP that hasn't yet is you got to build for a joust. Use things like mines to really muck up your opponent's day. I was tempted to just take 4 mines and a Praetus and some scimitar and throw them out there all the way up and down. But something that would be good in jousting, that would have some speed maybe to run through your opponent's attack, be able to turn around and come back and do it again and survive. The Borg were good. The Borg was the most difficult opponent I faced. I barely won that and did that on points only, taking out the scout cube. And being that the Borg's range is limited to 2, staying out of their range, and then we went to time. So I won that one on points. The other, I faced Federation fleets, and this build had too much firepower for the Federation fleets. That in combination with the mines and the tactics. But any fleet that you use, whether it's Klingon Swarm or Scimitar Swarm or whatever that you use that's good for joust, would be recommended for this play. And by all means, you need to stay away from that temporal wave. You do not want to get over there because it's just going to give you damage and give your opponent fleet points. And sometimes his fleet points are a matter between winning and losing. So I guess that's my overview and recent report of the Year of Hell OP. Hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for listening. This is Bane of Borg signing off.
Hello again, guys. This is Steven Vandeventer from DaVinci's DreamWorks 2. Going to talk to you about my Balance of Terror multiplayer I'm doing this week. So like always, we do the OP normally, and then I work on a interesting way to do the multiplayer. What I have designed is a field that has a neutral zone, which will be about 1 to 2 wide and is near the northwestern side at a diagonal. Parallel to it within range 1 will be 6 to 7 outposts, which are just little objective markers. And then near the eastern side, I will have a objective token which represents the comet. I base my mission off of the actual Galgathon's mission. That's where I got the idea for the outposts and the basic scenario. I kept the guessing maneuvers from the actual OP with a few changes, where I took away the need to have mission tokens. And the thing I felt was lacking in both the OP and the mission itself was there was no comet, so I added one. You can let me know what you think about it. The build is you get 1 ship at 40 points. No fighter, no shuttle. You use standard resources. If you build 23rd century Era Pure, you get plus 10 SP, plus 1 resource, and you may use a retired resource. This will allow my cool Era Pure players to try to play with a Galgathon and get up to 50 points, play with a Tholian ship, play with a Gorn ship, because I have lots of Tholian players. The outposts, they count as ships but do not move. Their primary weapon value is 0, their agility is 0, they have 2 shields and 3 hull. The neutral zone. The rules are ships are not allowed to attack or be attacked while within the neutral zone unless granted by an order, which I'll get to those in a minute. The Comet's rules are all ships within range 1 to 2 cannot have their maneuver dials looked at by an enemy player. All ships within 1 to 2 may perform a sensor echo action as a free action with the 1 forward template, if not cloaked, and you do not have the action on your action bar. So it gives you the ability to kind of like decoy, like in the episode. Now the fun thing I did for this was I gave orders. I made about 4 to 5 for each faction. Feds, Romulans, Klingons, Independent, Vulcan, Mirror, and then I made Other for anybody who doesn't want to play Era Pure but wants to play like whatever ship. So there's about 4 to 5 of them again, and the players will get 3 randomly. They do not show the other players this. This is their goal and objective in the multiplayer game. Basically, the top 3 players that complete the objectives will get an LE, and Redshirt will get an LE. I'm not giving an LE to the person who destroys the most ships this time, because several of the orders actually involve attacking other players' ships. So I think that's already satisfied. So here's some examples of what I got. Federation have Patrol, Defend, Engage, and Pursue. Patrol. Fly within range 1 of the neutral zone at least 2 times. It's pretty easy. Can be hard if the other factions get attack nearest player, because you start in the southeastern side, and like I said, the neutral zone's all the way up in the northwestern side, so you're going to have to go through a lot of other players safely to get up there and then stay locked up there. But you can't be within the neutral zone. You have to be range 1 outside the neutral zone. Defend. You may redirect attacks from the outpost to your ship. You must be within range 1. You must do this 2 times. I got this idea actually from the Galgathon's mission. I really liked that, and I kept it. Engage. Most factions have this. Attack and destroy any ship who damaged your ship. And pursue. Successfully guess the enemy's movement dial 3 times. For Romulans, I gave them destroy 2 outposts. Attack. You may attack within the neutral zone or at targets that are in the neutral zone. Engage is the same. Retreat. Have your opponent fail to guess your maneuver 3 times. Works really well if you happen to be near that comet. Klingons, I gave them attack, engage, pursue, same as the other factions. I gave them destroy, but their destroy is different. Their destroy is destroy at least 2 enemy ships, so they're going to be very aggressive. Independent, I gave them observe. You gain the action. You may look at a non-cloak ship's maneuver dial within range 1 to 2. I gave them retreat, which is the same as the Romulans, engage, same as everybody, and pursue. Vulcans, they have observe, patrol, engage, and defend. Defend this time says you may redirect attacks from any ship to your ship within range 1. Do this 2 times. So the Vulcans are out there to save anybody, not just the outpost. Mirror Universe, being as evil as they are, they got destroy, but their destroy is destroy 3 ships or outposts in any combination. They got attack, so they can attack people in the neutral zone. They can attack while they're in the neutral zone. They have pursue, so they're going to try to chase you and guess your maneuver dial. And they got invade. Attack ships from each side of the neutral zone. 2 each. So you've got to be on either side of the neutral zone trying to attack ships. This works really well when you're going after patrolling ships. And then other, I gave them attacking, invading, observing, engaging, and defending. This gives quite a bit of diversity. Since they're randomly given out, the players will, and they'll decide which ones they're going to activate first, obviously. So they'll be doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I'll have lots of pictures on the Facebook page once it's over, probably Thursday or Friday. But until then, I'll talk to you guys next week.
So, for a number of you folks that have been following the progression of the Temporal Cold War, you may have noticed that the grand prize has shifted from the Xindi weapon ship to some Xindi cards, a la the Q cards from the Q Continuum series. Now, don't fret. For those of you that don't yet know, we are still getting the weapon ship for the Xindi. Instead of coming as a grand prize, we're going to get it as a premium format figure that's going to be on sale at retail. The announced time is December, so it's perfect to give as a gift to your Star Trek Attack Wing fan. Be it a friend, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife, or just someone you care about. The suggested retail price is going to be $39.99. That may vary from country to country depending on where you're listening from, but that's the general ballpark. And to give you a gist of it, that ship is around 4-inch around. There was a bit of a spoiler on it on a WizKids desk shot that had gone around the internet some months ago, and it appears to be larger than a sphere, similar in size, perhaps a little larger than a tactical cube, and I'm willing to bet it's going to be on the large base, which, since the tactical cubes, would only make it the second unique model on such a base. So that's something I'm looking forward to, and at a price point that's lower than the Deep Space Nine, lower than the oversized Borg cube, I'm really excited to see this.
I am too. It makes a perfect Christmas gift. Nice little thing under the tree. And maybe a model with some cool Xindi cards?
Mm-hmm.
Who knows, maybe a Crewman Daniels card in there?
Ooh.
I know nothing about it. This is purely speculation.
Now, for all those in WizKids land listening, if you ever do produce a Daniels card, perhaps this could be the first time you have an upgrade that is of multiple faction and potentially have it as a Federation, Independent, and Mirror? That's one thing that I think would work really well with a number of players in the different formats, is have cards that can cross over and still be legitimate in their meta.
Yeah, because Daniels was really all over the place, and time.
Mm-hmm. I'd actually like to see more dual faction cards, not just the ships that we've seen in the past, but actual captains or upgrades and things like that. Gone might be the days of, when placing this upgrade on X faction ship, you do not pay a penalty, or just have it as both factions and then you're good to go. And that way those playing ship or faction pure aren't as restricted to their options, while still staying true to the flavor of the way they want to play. They get the flexibility of that.
Yeah, it gives people some good options. It doesn't really affect me, but I know it affects a lot of other people. So it's something to consider. It's something I hope WizKids takes under advisement. But, of all the things that they're changing in this game, that's not one that I'm saying, okay, now if they'd only change that, then this game would be perfect.
It's just my way of saying that every format deserves its day in the sun, and why can't we all just have a great big picnic?
Picnic.
Everybody to Ryza!
Core breach in 10.
Everybody to Ryza,
9,
the prune juice is on me.
8,
and after a late night of
7,
recording,
6,
2 rock to Genos to
5,
go.
And on that
4,
note,
this is Nick.
3,
and this is David.
2,
Ejecting
1.
the core.
Warp core ejected.
Warp Core Breach is produced by Nick Norris and David Montgomery, with additional content from our contributors. Our computer is voiced by Corinne Donnelly.
Warp Core Breach is not endorsed, sponsored, or affiliated with CBS Studios Incorporated or the Star Trek franchise. All Star Trek trademarks and logos are owned by CBS Studios Incorporated.
All sound files are used under Creative Commons 3.0 by attribution. For specifics, please visit our Facebook page by searching Warp Core Breach Podcast. If you want to contribute to the show, let us know on the Facebook page, or you can email us at warpcorebreachpodcast@gmail.com.
Well, I just gotta say, it's been a long road. Getting from there to here. It's been a long road. But my time is finally near. And I can see my dreams come alive at night. And I know I will touch the sky. And the people that say meh to my blind booster previews, they're not gonna hold me down no more. No, they won't hold me down no more. 'Cause I've got faith of the heart.